Be interested in some way or other in the community woodland purchase, you're in the right place. We're going to talk about that this evening. My name is Hugo, and I'll be chairing the evening in such a way that I hope everybody will get to have their say, and we will please conduct this in an atmosphere of mutual respect and the full understanding that an idea like this needs robust questioning. And for robust questioning to take place, we do need to ask some tough questions, but please in an atmosphere of mutual respect. Sorry if that makes me sound like a school teacher, but that's what I am. What's happened so far is in the last 2 months, a group of us have started talking about the possibility of buying Lindors wood. We've had lots of conversations with each other. We've talked to an organisation called Common, Nature Recovery, and they exist to help communities buy woodland. And it was only when I came across this organisation and we all started talking about it that it actually became something like a possibility. Because personally, you might think I'm pessimistic, I don't see how we could raise the asking price of £950,000 purely within this parish. Common are offering us a route to purchase, which I think is very, very exciting. And I hope by the time we get through this evening, you will all understand what that route looks like and what the possibilities and options are. And I would emphasise at this stage, no decision has been made. In fact, no organisation even exists. This is it. We talked to each other, we made some leaflets, we made a Facebook group, and we booked this call, and here we are. This is the project as far as it has come. And what we need this evening is not donations. We will not be asking for money. We will be asking instead whether people think this idea should be taken another step further. Okay? We're looking for a mandate. We're not looking for money yet. In fact, the only people looking for money are at the bar. So please support the assembly rooms when we have a breakout, and we will have a breakout. This is the agenda. This is the evening as far as it goes. I'll talk about the basic vision and values which have animated this project thus far. There's a few pre-planned contributions from the floor. George Peterkin, renowned author and woodland ecologist, is going to talk briefly about the actual site. And we've got 2 organisations, Wild Coppice, CIC, and Sea Woodlands. CIC are going to talk about their work in woodlands, and that's going to help us think about how Lindors wood could be something other than commercial timber.
I was one of these people who didn't know the Wye Valley at all, being brought up in London, but in 1970 I spent quite a lot of the summer surveying the woods in the whole of the Wye Valley for the proposed area of outstanding natural beauty. That's how long ago it was and how old I am. In doing so, I went through enormous numbers of different woods up and down the valley, but I never looked at this wood. And the reason for that was that it had recently been cut down, sprayed, chemicals, killed with brush, and planted with conifers. And then I had plenty else to look at, woods which were still, as I call, semi-natural, dominated by native trees like oak, ash, lime, and such like. I rather wish I had looked, actually, because quite a lot of this woodland is, as you saw in one of those photographs, a quite extensive wet woodland dominated by alder, which is actually quite rare in the English lowlands. I know we're on the edge of the English lowlands here, but it's quite an unusual habitat and it's quite extensive. So from a purely ecological point of view, and that's what I am, an ecologist specialising in woodland, this is actually quite an interesting place, and as you rightly said, it's likely that the alderwood is quite rich in wildlife. But most of it has been cut down, poisoned, planted with conifers, and now cut down again because they've reached their maturity as far as the timber resource is concerned. And to me, the wood looks like a bit of a mess. which is a temporary phase before the trees start growing up again. However, I took a look at it for the first time properly when I heard of Hugo's ideas for this wood. I thought I better get to know this place because someone's bound to ask me what it's like. I did walk around and found a patch of woodland in the middle of Allen's Grove, which I think gives us some idea of what it was like and conceivably what it could be like. And I said this to Hugh and he asked me to show these photographs to you. So here you are. I won't stand in the way, will I? If I stand over here, what we've got here is right in the middle of this wood, from distance and from close in, seems to be all type of growing conifers, tall or young. There's a patch of woodland which I think must have been kept so that someone could continue to shoot the deer or something like that. There's a high seat nearby. And what you see is a group of oaks with a little hazel underneath, and if you look closely you'll find a few other species in there like goat willow. Now, if you go on to the next slide, these are just, I think it's 4 pictures I've got here. Give you some idea of different pieces.
I've got to do my book for this one. I'll do it later. But I moved to some Briavels about 4 years ago. I've spent my life being an ecologist and a forester, and then recently realised George was a good one. So it's a pleasure to finally meet him recently. And what a great turnout. We were a bit unsure about how many people would turn out, but it was really great to see you all here. I'm a chartered forester, I'm a chartered environmental scientist. I have about 23 years professional experience of looking at woodland assets, land assets, and advising on their management. I have my own company, Whistling Woodland CIC, been going about 7 years. Based in Gloucestershire, but we work across England and Wales. And I spend a lot of my time advising landowners about buying woodland and about getting to grips with what's on the site, what's around the site, and how that feeds into managing the site responsibly. So that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, getting grants for them, getting wood management plans, felling licenses. My company also does woodland research and policy work, so I'm quite often poking government departments and telling them to do more. So that's what I do. And yeah, Hugh and I had a chat at a party a few months ago, and it was a very friendly conversation. And then yeah, Hugh approached me fairly recently and said, "Oh, I'm excited about the woodland," and he remembered that I think I said somewhere along the line, I know we're coming to that word. But I'm very excited by this opportunity. I think my view is a more sort of nuanced and subtle approach to managing this woodland. Has the potential to yield a whole range of benefits to the local community in terms of society, economy. It's not just about timber and fuel, and that's what's really exciting about this site. So I'm very interested in helping Hugo and others to try and turn this into something into reality. So, just to kind of help prompt some discussion at the break around, what's valuable about this woodland and the features about it. There's some maps dotted around the room that I've produced, they're on the table, so feel free to take those away, have a look at them now, prompt some discussion amongst yourselves, and I'll let you from the Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Work out a tender, they might decide they wanted to apply and put together a bid for that work. There's no sense in which this is kind of, they've suddenly got some work and this is, they're in on some work. It's just illustrative of the concept that organisations can indeed offer a different way of managing woodland. Just to be clear about that. Sorry, Johnny.
Hello everybody, can you hear me at the back? Yeah, excellent. My name is Joe Weaver and I've been a consultant and forestry worker and practitioner and forestry worker for about 16 years now. I run a local company called White Coppice CIC and we manage woods from Herefordshire down through the Lower Wye Valley all the way down to Mendip. We've got a team of 12, one of them is over there somewhere, aren't you, Nick? Hello? We are a community interest company, as I said, because we train people, we train local people and put money back into the economy, into the local rural economy. That's kind of what we do. We practice environmentally conscious woodland management to support nature recovery. And a lot of our work is with Natural Resources Wales, just over the border there. We work under a biodiversity contract for them. So we do a lot of coppicing, and part of that coppicing, we'll cut all the trees down to the ground in broadleaf woodlands, but we'll use everything that we cut. The very tips of the trees we turn into fascines, the smaller diameter branch wood we turn into charcoal, which I've got back here. Nick's been making charcoal today. And then we use the larger timber for, you know, your plastic timber products like firewood, or we might make some boards out of it or something like that, boards and beams. Most of the felling work we do during the winter, and then we do during the summer months, and we make all the products and sell a lot of charcoal. The last 2 weeks, we've got rid of 300 bags of these charcoal, and we're now 60 bags owned. So it flies out, we cannot keep up. What else do I need to say? Hugo's asked me if there's a commercial potential in Lindors wood if we manage it for biodiversity. And it's a difficult question to answer. I think there can be, but it's going to have to be a multifaceted approach. We're going to have to do things like charcoal, we're going to have to do things like machines, we maybe have to do training, get some external people in to do other things as well, maybe some tourism things. It's not a one-job fix-all. You can't just chop it down to the ground, replant it, and expect to get a return from it. I think if we're going to manage it for biodiversity, we're going to have to do lots and lots and lots of different things.
He's here in person this evening. Christoph Warrack, the CEO, is about to appear. Christoph is about to appear, and he's going to talk us through the story of their organisation and what they might be able to offer to us in terms of support, advice on funding, and possible business ideas to develop a business plan which would support a woodland management plan, which would itself pay the costs of owning the woodland and also help pay off any purchase loans.
You can share your screen now, Christoph. Everyone's waiting.
Lovely. Great. Good evening, everyone. Go on, Mark. You sound like you're in mid-flow.
No, there might be a little bit of a lag. We can't see your PowerPoint right now.
Okay.
This did all work perfectly about 20 minutes ago.
Well, very good evening to everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. It's a great pleasure and honour to be a part of this event. I would like nothing more than to be there with you on what looks like an absolutely glorious evening over there in West Gloucestershire on the banks of the Rye. I'm speaking from North Yorkshire, where I'm with my children on Easter holidays. My father is a lexicographer, and he suggested I look up St Briavels. And I have here the Oxford Dictionary of Saints, and it says that the patron of St Briavels was first written about in 1130, and he was a Celtic saint whose name dates from the Old Celtic Brigomaglos, which is a name which might bear some reintroduction. But apparently he was a hermit in the Forest of Dean and gave his name to the place, but his life is unknown. I think it's nice that the name of, after which your community and place is named was somebody who lived in the woods of those parts of the world. So, my name is Christoph Warrack, and I'm honoured to be co-founder and chief executive of Common, formerly called Woodland Saviours. And we are an organisation which exists to enable communities to buy and manage woodlands and other natural landscapes for nature recovery, for the development of the health and well-being of communities, and for the development of local skills, jobs and livelihoods. We were founded in 2021 when three friends and colleagues acquired 100 acres of woodland by crowdfunding to prevent it being sold to someone who might do something terrible with it. They might fence it off, they might neglect it, they might clear fell it, or they might introduce commercial activities which would be negative for nature and negative for local people. And the success of this project gave our co-founders a sense that there was something important here that might be valuable to other communities looking to get on the front foot to contribute to nature recovery in their local landscape. So we raised a series of grants from the Forestry Commission to develop the model and then received the backing of the Esme Fairbairn Foundation and a group of values-aligned social impact investors to launch formally last year, having done a second successful project which we supported in West. Our process is that either a community finds us or we find them. If land is up for sale, we want to restore to them the advantage in the land market, which is something that communities have not enjoyed or had access to really for most of the last 1,000 years, because land has largely been in the hands of private, corporate or government wealth and ownership, and communities now with crowdfunding and values-aligned match investment and philanthropy do have the chance to acquire even quite valuable woodlands like your own, Lindors wood. So we take essentially the community through a journey to explore where the money might come from, what the governance structure might be, how to think about land management, how to think about revenue generation, how to think about long-term planning and management, and the inclusion of local individuals, skills, partnerships, networks, to restore landscapes to local ownership for the prosperity of nature.
It might be best directed to Mark Hilliard from Common. I'm not sure that I can say whether I put the answers or not, but it might be the kind of question that we've already discussed, and we can just be clear about where we've got to in our discussions of that. Would anyone like to start us off with questions? Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Andrew from Germany. The question is, there's been an awful lot of terrible publicity recently about wildfires affecting various parts of the country this early in the year because we've had a dry spell. Now, looking into the future, I can only imagine they would get worse. Now, what I'm interested to ask is what kind of preventive activity and provision can we make should this go ahead to make sure these things don't devastate the whole thing?
Thank you very much. Is it possible, Mark, to manage woodland in a way that contains wild?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from South Wales Valley, and you will have seen 250 grass fires, bracken fires that have been lit. It's about managing the fuel. It's about making sure that there's fire breaks. George was talking about the type of woodland. It's a very, very wet woodland down in that bottom. If you've got woodland condition, so you have a planted high forest, it's a lot less likely for it to burn. It's those kind of the bracken, the grass, very, very dry spells. You haven't really got that in Lindors. There are places where the trees have been taken out and you've got the younger growth, but they will soon grow on. So, it's about limiting the amount of fuel essentially. But there's lots and lots of rides and breaks and roads, and it's kept up. So, yes, the long and short of it is yes. As part of it.
What interests have been already, as it's been on the market for 18 months? Have you spoken to the estate agents? Have they said what potential buyers or people are looking, just to know the background of potential competitors
Yeah,
to buy
we
the
asked this
land?
question to Common. Mark, would you like to just?
Yeah. No. So we were in touch with the current managers of that woodland as well. We know there has been interest, but all well under the current asking price. Now there is a question to put out to the community: is what is the actual worth and value of this woodland? We understand it was kind of below £800,000 was the offer, and it was rejected. So that gives you a little bit of an indication.
Do you know why they're selling it? I mean,
So there are a group of trustees that were left the woodlands by their grandfather, is my understanding, and they are looking for additional money to fund their farming activities in Hertfordshire. Would you consider taking this off the market if we could reach an agreed price for a period of time to identify how we could finance this? And the response was, after you have your meeting and you get a little bit organised, how much, how long? Okay. So that potentially is the next step. It's a really important part actually of this. So on the project that was on pause that Christoph showed, we negotiated 67 acres of land for a community in South Wales. We had that land accepted. The offer was accepted, and then subsequently one of the vendors pulled out. It's really, really important because it takes us longer to organise as a community that we get an understanding and an agreement beforehand. The next step to getting that agreement is identifying who in the room wants to take this forward, what the mandate is, etc. So that would be the next kind of step. It would be good to go back to them. Evaluation would be really, really important too.